The brilliant thinker Sherlock Holmes once said, "When we eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth." I was sitting with someone recently, and I was discussing the ideas that I mentioned in my last video, that human beings experience negativity and lack of self-worth, sense of greatness, and that these things don't appear to have come from nature, and therefore, where could they come from? We have to find the source outside of nature. And he contended that, no, perhaps that's not true. In fact, he said, perhaps they do come from nature. And I said, how so? He said, well, when we evolved to develop higher levels of thinking, higher order reasoning skills, we decided that we must be greater than animals, and therefore we strove to achieve things that would fulfill that feeling. I said, okay, I want to carefully analyze what you're saying. What you're essentially suggesting is that a lot of human existence is based upon a lie. Because you're saying that the idea that's being expressed is actually not true. That human beings who have existed since the dawn of civilization some 5,000 years ago convinced themselves, meaning that really we are just animals. And by rights, we should be living in tribes, in a jungle, and organizing ourselves in an animal-like fashion. But instead, we convinced ourselves a lie, that we are greater than animals, and in order to create this self-fulfilling prophecy, we then went on to spread this delusion to everyone, and everybody joined in, agreed to believe in this, and since then, all of humanity has been suffering endlessly for it, because we could all be living our lives without any negativity or self-doubt, but we imposed it upon ourselves in an effort to believe that we are somehow greater than animals, greater than we are, and we're not. I said, in order to convince me that I would have to accept that, you would have to eliminate every other possibility. You would have to convince me, beyond reasonable doubt, that it is in fact impossible that there is any force outside of nature. It is impossible for there, for instance, to be a God or some other force that could have made it possible for me to have had negativity and self-worth be a part of my life. Do you know why? Because, as I've said, I'm not here to tell you that you have to believe in God, although there are many religious channels that will make that argument. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not here to tell you that if you don't believe in what I'm telling you, you're a fool or you're not being logical. I am just here to tell you that I think that being religious is a rational path through life, which means that if you weigh all of the possibilities, what I'm saying is the more rational one. Not that the other one is irrational, not that the other one is crazy or impossible, but it's less rational. In this case, I think that the idea that all of humanity has been living their lives based on a lie, that the great thinkers and philosophers of human history, from the Aristotles to the Confuciuses, to the, who knows, to all of the great thinkers of human history, some of whom wrote penetrating insights about human nature, human psychology, human behavior, to say that all of them were really based on this lie and self-delusion. And no one realized it. Everybody who has built great things have been chasing after a dream, a lie that's not achievable. I don't think that that's more rational than believing that, in fact, this lack, this negative feeling that's inside us, that we strive to fulfill, has a distinct purpose and comes from somewhere else. Besides for which, I don't think it's a convincing argument that somehow in the development of higher order thinking skills, we would come to create this thought process, which is extremely self-defeating. Besides for that, especially, by the way, since if it is a lie, it means we will never feel fulfilled. How depressing is that? Because if it's a lie that we will ever be greater than what we are, right? Just like a lion will never be greater than a lion. A lion is simply a lion. If we are simply animals who convinced ourselves that we could be greater than animals if we somehow fulfill a destiny, but it's just a lie, that would mean that all human beings are running around living their lives, but will never achieve that which they hope to achieve, which is to eliminate the feelings of self-doubt, of negativity. Very depressing. And again, I don't think it's as rational as believing that these feelings don't come from nature and these feelings aren't untrue. There is something greater. We are great, and we can achieve greatness and thus eliminate our self-doubt and negative self-worth. So I think that it is not irrational to take the approach that this is real and it comes from something other than a natural source. But what could that source be? That's going to be the topic of the next video.